Well, it was a big night for Democrats in New York and in Florida.
That's right. The party racked up several key wins in the final set of primaries before the November midterm elections. In New York, Democrat Pat Ryan defeated Republican Marc Molinaro in the special election for the state's 19th district. Ryan gained traction campaigning on the issue of abortion rights. His win in Tuesday's primary could provide a roadmap for success for other Democrats ahead of November.
And in Florida, Congressman Charlie Crist won the Democratic nomination for governor. He's going to be taking on the Republican governor, Ron DeSantis, this fall. To get deeper into depth on all the CBS News congressional correspondent, Scott MacFarlane joins us here on the set. Scott, always great to have you. So let's go ahead and start in upstate New York. We were talking about the state's 19th district. Pat Ryan, as you had told us, really centered his campaign on abortion rights. That proved to be a successful strategy, propelling him to victory. What was it about this race that captured so much attention?
It's the first real competitive Republican versus Democratic race since the Roe versus Wade ruling from the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade and abortion rights nationwide. So it was a test case. It's also the last test case before the midterm election,
right,
76 days from now. So to say it had outsized interest and outside interest is an understatement. They thought this was a canary in the coal mine. And Democrats are quite convinced today they exceeded expectations. There wasn't any poll in this special election that showed the Democrat winning. And here he is today, projected to win by about 2 points. Pat Ryan will take the final few months of this vacant seat. It was a special election that otherwise should have been particularly low profile, but because of its timing, because of its competitive nature, it has all this interest. It could trigger an infusion of money and energy into these Democratic campaigns in the home stretch.
It's such an important point because a lot of the elections that we're talking about right now, it's Republican versus Republican, Democrat versus Democrat. And this one is actually Republican versus Democrat, what we're going to see ultimately.
In a bellwether area, this 19th district of New York, which spans an awful lot of real estate from the Hudson Valley all the way through Cooperstown and Ithaca in central New York, has been fluid. It's gone red, it's gone blue, it's, I guess, to a degree, purple in nature. So it's a Rorschach test. It's an indicator of what's going to happen down the line. Democrats believe they've increased their optimism that there may be some wiggle room in a House election in which Republicans have been uber confident they're going to take the majority and take a number of seats, and potentially makes the Senate more competitive. Perhaps Democrats are more likely now to hold the Senate.
So just very quickly, you touched on this canary in the coal mine kind of aspect to this contest. What is the larger message now that this sends, for Democrats especially, who were hoping but not quite sure that this issue of abortion rights would actually energize their base?
Well, here's what we know for certain. We know in this particular race, the Democrat, the winner, Pat Ryan, made abortion rights, women's reproductive health, his primary issue. It was infused inside his campaign ads. It was part of his message as he went door to door. His Republican opponent acknowledges the Democrat made that his primary campaign issue. We knew abortion rights was going to be a pivotal issue in November. But is it the pivotal issue in November now? Anybody going to follow this guide? Anybody going to follow this playbook? There are not a ton of competitive House races nationwide, but there are some. And perhaps those candidates feel it's time to make abortion rights a more primary issue.
Well, let's talk about Florida in the time that we have left, because Charlie Crist will square against Governor Ron DeSantis. This is a big election. It's going to have national repercussions. What do you think?
You have a former Republican governor, Charlie Crist, now a Democrat, running against a Republican governor. It's going to be a blockbuster because both of them have huge name ID in Florida. Doesn't mean it's going to be competitive. Just means it's going to be a blockbuster. It's going to be notorious. It's going to get a lot of noise and a lot of attention in Florida. Florida doesn't seem to be the purple state it famously was at the start of the century. But Charlie Crist, Democrats believe, Democrat strategists believe, and the Democratic voters believe last night would be the most competitive candidate to put up against Ron DeSantis. Democrats would like to at least slow the DeSantis path towards a possible 2024 run, if not stop it, through Charlie Crist.
Very interesting. The changing demographics of Florida and also the Republican Party in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Scott, thank you.
Scott, thank you.